All right, on today's episode, we talk about being lifelong learners, having curiosity as builders, and how ultimately that results in a better product for the homeowner. Okay, so we recently completed a course and became certified passive house builders. And that got us thinking about, as builders in this industry, you're not required to do continuing education like a lot of other industries or professions have. We individually here are all curious people. We are lifelong students in the building industry. There are constantly new methods that are coming about, but our industry, there's a lot of, this is how we've been doing it all along, so this is how we do it, kind of a mentality. And so there is a bit of a separation, I think, between different types of builders where they've got their methods and means that they just stick to. And then you've got other folks that understand that you can always do something better. There's always a better way. And so they're always looking for that better way or looking to get more information, more experience, and better themselves as builders.
I think it's important that everyone understand the home building business, because of the way it's evolved, even though we consider ourselves professionals, it's the path to get there is not the typical professional path with a degree and a professional designation and the certificates that come along with that. And so builders evolve into their knowledge base and their experience by doing it. And in the absence of formal training, we get stuck in this rut of doing the same things over and over again and sometimes making the same mistakes over and over again. Mm-hmm. So the education part, which is in today's world much more available than it has been in decades past, should speak to how much we care about what we do and how passionate we are about it and how we continually want to be better at it.
Right.
And that's our motivation for trying to do that, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that in particular, just like wanting to be better at things, who wants to do something and feel like you're not sure if it's the right decision? I think to me, the more I can learn, the more confident I can feel that I'm doing a good job for the client.
Yeah.
I can sleep at night. I just think it's so important that we constantly grow.
Yeah. I think too, when I think about this as builders, we do completely custom homes. So no two homes are the same. So we are constantly putting ourselves in positions where we have to learn a new skill or we have to learn a new detail or we have to learn a new method for putting something together. But also, like if you are a tradesperson or a builder that builds the same kind of house or does the same kind of thing every day, there's opportunity for learning there as well. Like you have a system, you can make it more efficient, you can make it better, even if it's you do the same thing over and over again. So I think it is right. It's all about a mentality of curiosity and a willingness to understand that you're never the best. You can always be better.
Right. Yeah. And whether it's us or the trade base that we use and affiliate ourselves with, it seems like the technology in our world is advancing exponentially. And just keeping up with that new products and new practices is an educational process in itself.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, that makes me wonder, are there things that you remember doing, early in your career that, you would never do it that way now based on just, how materials or methods have changed?
Yeah, a lot of things. We assumed that all residential homes across the country had the same environment and the same energy requirements and the same thermal applications and same windows and same mechanical systems without much regard for climate differences or storm exposure. Just, and that's just an evolution in itself. We now understand the building science behind different climate zones, and that's a difficult science to keep up with. Every year we learn more about it and understand how every house, not just by region, but every house by site and by architectural design needs its own specific solution.
Yeah.
Super nuanced.
For me, there was definitely a period in my career it didn't last very long, but where I was still building vented attics into houses, and I would never do that.
Yeah.
At least not here.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are
Putting
good.
mechanical equipment and duct distribution in hot 150-degree attics.
Yeah.
That does not make sense.
No, and I've done that a few times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not recently, but yeah.
Well, I'm wondering, like, I don't know if we want to like maybe think about just briefly like what we've done in the past to like learn and like kind of paths that we've taken and maybe like some future. Like I kind of wonder, I actually was throwing out the idea to some friends like, well, what other letters can I get? Because my goal is just to like amass as many certifications as I can, because I think it's kind of like a lot of times you can do that learning on your own, but until you actually are forced to like take an exam to prove it or go through some kind of process to prove it, you don't really know if you actually know that material until you've tested on it.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, but I'm wondering like what other future things might we want to consider for how we grow?
Well, I would say that it's not just formal training. Great. We've gone through passive house training and been tested on our knowledge and are now certified. That's great. A lot of other formal training by different organizations nationally you can go through and you can learn, and that's a part of it, and it's an important part. But simple things like home tours, looking at other builders' work is a very valuable informational and learning tool. Disassembling and remodeling older homes is also a very good educational tool.
Yeah.
And the more of those processes that you go through, the more you see and learn by hands-on experience those things that work and those things that don't work, those things that have proven to be successful and those things that have failed. And by communicating with other builders, collaborating with other colleagues in your local market and gleaning from their experiences what has worked and what hasn't. That's not formal training. That's just networking. And that has just
Or
as much
making
value.
just an effort. I think it's,
Right.
I mean, it's the same as what I'm saying is just like, what kinds of things do you want to do to pursue like learning? And I think, kind of in that vein, one of the projects that we have coming up, that's a passive house project. I'm really curious to see like, are we going to do anything differently from, some of the other projects that we have going on, or, what's that process going to look like?
Yeah. Well, we inevitably will. And I think, us having had that training is going to help us. I think, though, something that I believe that we all do and is a really great learning tool is just all the literature that's available to us. Things like the Green Building Advisor, Fine Home Building, those sort of platforms where when you have questions, there's places to go. And all of a sudden, I don't know if it happens to you, but you go down this rabbit hole and you start reading article after article and really learning both what to do and what not to do in certain situations. I think also a pretty amazing tool that it's come about in the past 10 years or so is using social media. Other builders around the country that share their experience or their methods of doing things that we maybe wouldn't have thought of, and maybe wouldn't work for our situation, but it gives us exposure to a lot more situations than just what we're seeing on our job sites. And that is really a valuable thing, I think.
I mean, even just like the idea of kind of like crowdsourcing when you're like, I think I've definitely been in a place where I'm problem solving and I start looking, I think Green Building Advisor and Fine Home Building, like I always end up looking at their forums, or like Building Science Corporation.
Yeah.
But I think if I can't find the answer there, if I just post something on Instagram, as simple as it is, and ask like, hey, does anyone have experience? Or ask, I think about even my personal house, asking both of you, I know you've asked you questions about details. You start to learn just how different people think about problem solving.
Yeah.
It's really helpful.
Yeah. I think there are also sort of phases in your career where that learning takes different forms. I know early on for me, I definitely tried to figure everything out myself. And so I was consuming everything that I could, but I wasn't really reaching out to peers or other people around me. And I think I don't know if that's a usual case or if it's abnormal, but I think it's important for people to really understand that, like you said, there isn't, not that there isn't a lot of formal training, but there isn't a particular path that anyone has to follow. They just really have to be willing to, like I said before, know that they don't know everything and just
Be curious.
go out there and get as much information as you can all the time.
I can totally relate to that. Like wanting to feel like I've got to hunt this answer down and I don't know who to ask, or I don't feel comfortable asking someone.
Right.
And in reality, that's like what brought me here. I really wanted to work
Collaboration.
with people who I could just ask questions to.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Previous podcast guest, Eric Griffin, made a comment about his career growth. And he said at one time in his career, he pursued being a conference commando, I think was the word he used.
Something he
was-
found on the internet
right.
of like how to go to conferences and
Going
like
to all these
network.
conferences
okay,
and
yeah.
networking
Yeah,
and learning and attending seminars. And I think his educational growth and his understanding of his career field grew exponentially during that short period of time that he went through
Yeah.
that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think that is another thing to talk about for sure is conferences generally,
yeah.
because there are now so many more than there used to be. At least when I had first started, there weren't too many. And we're a part of Build Show Live, which I think is a really, really valuable way for people to get a lot of information in a short amount of time.
And like I feel like the best thing that comes out of those for me is just the connections, because you may make a connection that like then you can feel more comfortable reaching out to that person in the future
Yeah.
with questions or
Yeah.
have them consult.
You know, now that we've started this discussion, I'm wondering is if, so here in the state of Texas, you're not required to have a license to be a builder, but many other states you
Yeah.
are. I'm wondering if there is a continuing education requirement
I
to
suspect
hold on
so.
to that licensure.
Oh,
It
I
may
didn't
vary
think about
by
that.
state.
There probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what kinds of courses. We have to look into that. Like if it's, I wonder if there's like crossover, if you could take like an AIA course
Yeah.
or something.
You know, my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that across the country, for the most part, builder licensure is more of a management and documentation process, so that builders have to declare themselves as qualified to do construction work, and that if they engage legally through contractual obligation with clients and other members, then they are a known entity. They can't open their business in one name and then close and then open in another name, so that they're sort of a transient or invisible builder. And I think that has value in itself, even without the educational component. But
Right,
I'd
right.
like to see it step up even further, even if it's something that we have to do internally.
In the absence of that, is there a way for, you know, a homeowner, somebody looking to hire a builder, to sort of vet those builders or find out?
That's exactly what I was like. How do you wade through, builders who are just doing things the same way they've always done them versus someone
Yeah.
who's trying to get better?
I mean, really, that just comes across in an interview, and it's
I think
questions that
so.
you ask, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's really not a way to know unless you have a bunch of acronyms after your name.
Yeah. That was a telltale sign.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's not just the technical that I think we strive to understand the technical aspects of building better houses. And that's very important to the colleagues and the clients that we work with. But it's also understanding how to be better builders, businessmen. So we are fiduciary entities in the relationship with the people that we work with, whether it's clients or design professionals. We have to make sure that what we are doing and what we're recommending and how we're behaving is responsible and looks out after the efficiency and effectiveness of the whole project. That's a learning experience in itself. And I think that builders who are passionate about being long-term career builders not only need to understand how to actually technically build a better house, but how to be better builders and service their clients' needs better.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. kind of just jumping back to ways in which we pursue this continually learning, is actually learning things from our trade partners, from our subcontractors, right? I don't know. I think because the individuals or the companies that we work with are, top of their game, I feel like I am always learning things from these guys. And I don't know, can you think of a particular instance where you've learned something from a trade partner?
Well, all of them. I mean, it's one thing to go to a training class and see a PowerPoint presentation and to have an instructor explain to you why this is done this way, but to see it in the field being assembled and put together, people learn by observation easier than any other way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've learned so much from the guys, the electricians, the plumbers, the air conditioning contractors, all the trades, just by watching them do it and asking questions. Why do we do it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something I was thinking about, I was talking about this with a friend actually earlier this week. Something that I think I'm bad about doing is I think that I'm supposed to know all the answers. And so if I don't understand what someone's talking about, I sometimes can feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't ask that. I probably should already know that. And we met with a cabinet maker earlier this week. Was that this week?
Yeah, it
I
was
don't even know.
I know it was.
It's been kind of a blur. And they were talking about something that was pretty in the weeds for how they build boxes and drawer boxes specifically. And I did not know what they were talking about at all. I didn't even know what word they were saying. Sometimes people throw jargon around and you're like, what does that say?
Yeah.
Spell that for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's so stupid. Why should I know the internal components of cabinets? I wouldn't know unless someone told me. And I asked about it, and part of I've been trying to be better about asking questions when I don't know the answer, because something that I've really admired about some architects that we're working with right now on a project that I'm really excited for is there's 2 architects that are involved, and they both ask lots of questions. And I feel like they're both very curious. Mm-hmm. And I've never once thought those people are dumb or don't know what they're doing. They're trying to learn.
Yeah.
And so I think one way we can get better is just ask questions, be curious. And I can't even remember what you asked. Oh, what have we learned from trade? But it's just that specifically, if we think about the cabinets, for instance, if I'm willing to ask a question to a trade partner about how they do things, as a designer, I can better plan for, okay, I know they're going to use this hardware and I need this much clearance around this piece or whatever. I'm going to give myself more room. Or if I'm a builder, I can understand, well, this has to be done prior to that step, or I'm not setting them up for success.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's true too from a project management standpoint. We're deploying all these different trades and, working sequencing and scheduling and all of that. And if we do have the ability to take the time to talk to the person who's doing the work to understand why they're doing what they're doing and in what order, then it does allow us to be better builders, better project managers, to, maybe on the next one have things done a different way so that they don't have to shim this a certain way or whatever it is. For me, before I became a builder, I was a project manager for another company, and I wanted to start my own company. And I knew that I didn't know how to do everything. Mm-hmm. And I knew I wasn't going to do everything. I was going to manage other people doing it. But I wanted to do it.
I feel
probably,
yeah.
So I was in a fortunate position where I was able to take the time to literally build my own house by myself so that I could have the experience. Obviously, I didn't do it as well as the people that work for us now, but I got the experience of doing all the different parts of construction and really getting to understand those intricacies so that when I was managing subcontractors, I had a better understanding of how to manage them and what they would be doing.
Yeah.
I think asking questions is really important, even at the risk of sounding like you don't know what you should know. Because I know when people ask me, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Because they've never done it before. It shows that they respect my knowledge and they're looking to me as the expert
That's right.
to help them learn.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think it's a respectful relationship when you try to get that education out of the people who are more experienced or experts at what they do. I love interacting with trades. Don't get to do it as often as I would like to.
Yeah.
And just the banter about technique or about challenges or problems that you're trying to overcome, it creates an incredible experience and relationship that has value. And then when we're trying to estimate a job, having that resource to say, hey, the design shows this. How would you go about doing this in your experience as a trade contractor? And then I can take that back to the architecture team and say, the field is recommending that we try this to accomplish this look or this effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so helpful, I think, to clients. Like, if there's all those conversations happening in the background, like if the architect is able to adjust something to accomplish the design intent and make it easier for us to implement it, it's ultimately going to end up as a better place for the client.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, as products have evolved over time and some things sort of fade off into the sunset and new things come in. Part of like kind of what you talked about earlier of implementing new products is some amount of risk management, right? We don't want to just dive headfirst into something that we've never used before. So how do we go about that? And my opinion is that one, we never do something that's completely different than we've ever done before. It's always some variation or some slight alternative, baby steps to what we've done before. And if we do it in a way where there's the least amount of exposure as possible to us, to the building, to whatever. But what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you? I know you're a very risk averse person. Trying to implement new products that you're fairly certain are better for the build, but maybe are not tried and true according to your experience.
Wow, that's
great question.
it's a great question. Complex answer.
Yeah.
So yes, that's right. We have to weigh new advances in technology and new methods in our industry against the risk. And the way we mitigate that is, one, manufacturers are really good today about educating the builder public what their products do and how it's different than previous products and what the improvements have been. But also, our industry is so big and communicates so broadly through social media and online educational opportunities that it doesn't take long for the industry to get a broad base of experience in new products.
That's right.
So within a 6-month period of a product coming out, you'll have 1,000 builders who've already tried it and run those traps and taken those risks, so that you do have that knowledge base to pull from. And of course, we are waist deep in that, communication nationally, and so I think we have a pretty good base of resources to tap into and say, these builders that we have close relationship with, have you tried this? No, we tried it. That doesn't work. Or it would work better if we had done it this way or whatever. So that helps mitigate that risk. However, there are certain things like, let's just take an example. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about a project that we're doing, and should we do a below grade peel and stick waterproofing membrane, or should we do a fluid applied membrane? And the answer to that is it depends. It depends on the site. It depends on the trade contractor that's doing it and what their experience is. It depends on the complexity of the foundation and how it comes together. One method is probably has more long-term data on its success than others. So that's probably the lower risk. If you don't want to take a risk, you go with the product that's been proven over a long period of time to work and not fail. However, it may be more expensive to do that. The new product may go on more efficiently or take less time, or it may be less expensive.
Yeah, that's right.
So those have to also be weighed against the risk.
Yeah.
So again, the answer is often It depends.
Yeah.
I think there's something also maybe that's almost like a gut feel. If you have any sense of like building science principles or sort of understand construction sequencing, or whatever other kind of high level principle for how things typically are done or typically work, then I think sometimes it's easy to spot the things that are a little gimmicky and
Yeah.
not going to work.
That is true. Absolutely.
Yeah, very true.
Whereas maybe a client might see that and it's like, oh, that seems interesting, but we can kind of quickly determine, no, that doesn't actually work for
Right.
a climate or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I think something that you sort of touched on that I think is a very valuable educational tool that, again, I didn't realize existed in my early career, but now is something we use quite frequently. And that's reaching out to the manufacturer and speaking to the people on the technical team. Sometimes the sales reps, but sometimes you can talk directly to the technical team and explain, okay, these are my conditions. This is what I'm trying to achieve. And they can tell you the reasons why it will or won't work or the best way to install it. That is absolutely invaluable to be able to talk
Or
directly
if you're
to
an
those
architect,
people.
maybe even send you a detail and
Maybe
you don't even have to
send you
draw it.
Yeah, exactly.
And amazingly enough, manufacturers today are very willing to get one-on-one conversations going with the end users.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal to me how much they put into the resources of that educational distribution and technical data distribution to the building community to make sure we have everything at our fingertips to make those decisions.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much we want to get in the weeds here, but we had a project where a manufacturer has come out with a new rain screen product. And it's textured on one side, not textured on the other side. And we thought, well, that would work great in stone cladding or behind stucco cladding, but would it really work well behind siding cladding? Maybe it should be turned the other way. Well, we don't know the answer to that question. Ask around our builder community, and it's been out a short period of time, and nobody really knew the answer. So we called the manufacturer. They got on the phone with us. It's like, you're right. We've had that internal conversation a lot here.
Yeah.
And we finally came to the conclusion that this concern is more important than that concern. And the reason we recommend doing it this way is because the paramount concern takes precedent over the secondary concern.
Yeah.
So we got our answer.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit, just sort of kind of wrap this all together. And ultimately, what does this mean for the homeowner? What does this mean for the person who's going to inhabit the house? And they're going to get a better product at the end of the day, right? Like having a builder who is continuously learning, continuously trying to do better, that results in a better product, and it shows the care that a builder is putting into the process and into the construction of the house.
I just want to say that to that point, the most important aspect in my mind, of any home builder is thoughtfulness. We should never do things simply because that's the way we've always done it. Every step of every project for every client should be thought through. Is this the right thing to do? What are the design goals? What are the performance goals? What are the site conditions? And all those things together should inform what we should do in any given circumstance. But we have to think through it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Chelsea, last words?
I don't know. I don't know anything. That's why I got to keep learning.
You keep learning. Yeah, every day is a new opportunity to learn something new.
It's really fun, actually. Actually, my final words, I think, are like, I think the most fun part of our jobs is, or the most rewarding, is like the problem solving.
Yeah.
And in those problem solving moments, like you have to start digging and you kind of increase your like base knowledge.
Yeah, it's an education, absolutely.
Yeah. The problem solving is what makes home building fun. It is a business like any other business. But the unique part about it is that we are constantly challenged to solve unique problems.
I get that dopamine hit.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
right.
Okay. Lifelong learners. Let's go learn.
I'm learning now. I will say that whether we're still recording or not.
Keep it.
Yeah, that you guys need to understand that one of the values that you bring to the team as younger people teaches me something every day as an older guy. We don't think outside the box as much as we should.
Yeah.
And younger people challenge us to question everything we know.
Yeah.
And that right there is the biggest learning experience you can get, is when you're challenged about what you know.
Yeah.
There are too many unknown unknowns. We don't know what we don't know until somebody questions what we do know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, and I think as a team, one of the reasons why we function so well is that sort of balance of a tremendous amount of experience with this new blood that is questioning everything, and sometimes with quite a bit of optimism behind it. And so I think it really does work well to improve all of us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think anytime you're working with someone who's very similar to you, I think you come up with the most creative solutions when you're working with people that have, even if it's a little bit different perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Good.
That's it for another episode of Work in Process. Thanks for listening. If you've got a question, a topic suggestion, or want to start a project with us, send an email to hello@risingerbuild.com.
You can also find us on Instagram at risingerbuild_ATX or on YouTube by searching Risinger Build. We'd love to hear from you.